Welcome to the mat. Ah, these are the longest days coming up here, getting so close to solstice. I always find it really invigorating, exciting. It's sometimes hard to slow down and pause because there's just so much daylight and so much beauty right now. I'm surrounded by peonies, and most of you know how I feel about those. It's really an ecstatic time. I also know that many people, I think pretty much everybody that I've talked to, are struggling with some of the heaviness of various situations that are happening and converging, and really struggling with how much attention to give what. And so I've been having a lot of conversations with people one on one, and I like to start, I guess, with a question to ask yourself, which is, where is your attention? Where does it settle? For how long? And what is the effect in your body and in your being? What's the residue? Are you energized? Do you find yourself depressed, heavy, unable to act? Do you feel open-hearted and connective, or kind of compressed or shut down? And so the balance, just like in yoga, we look for a balance of action and softness and holding, stillness, if you will, and movement. And I would say similarly, we need to have a balance of how much we're digesting and taking in and having our attention on that's heavy or hard. We certainly should not be running from it, but how much are we taking in and from what sources? And then balancing that with giving our attention to the other parts of our lives that are joyful, beautiful. So just inviting each of us to ask that question, and often our answer of whether we're in balance or not is just how our energy is, how we're feeling, how we're sleeping, whether we have joyfulness, playfulness to offer our loved ones. Um, Playfulness and laughter are really, really powerful. And it's one of the first things that goes if all we're giving our attention to is stuff that's heavy. And it's one of the first things that can shift the balance and like fluff up our pillow energetically, as I think of it. There's a great quote that says, at the height of laughter, the universe is thrown into a kaleidoscope of possibilities. Jean Houston, I think is the name. And I love that. It's like everything goes from to like whoosh, and anything's possible. So I've been really playing with that thought this week and trying to remember to tap into the part of myself that can be amused, and that also can be playful and amusing, and hopefully inspire others to go there. Nothing wrong with watching a good comedy or calling up your friend who's the one who always makes you laugh. So anyway, today we're going to be doing some fun flow and a couple of postures that I find kind of fun because they're a little, they kind of throw up my mental grip into kind of chaos. So eagle pose, where we're doing a lot of limb crossing. Part of what's funny to me about it is like at some point, sometimes I'm like, wait, is that my right hand or my left foot? So if you feel that kind of confusion, enjoy it. Don't get sort of muddled in some sort of perfection or like, oh my God, I'm confused. Go, oh wow, everything's up for possibility. Have fun, do the parts that work for you today. Pause when you need to pause. Again, I'll be offering flow with pauses in between. But until you get to the mat, often you don't actually know what your body's wanting or needing. And so our job always is to be present and curious and playful with this amazing body. Again, welcome. I'm so, so glad that you're here. We're going to start off on our back bodies. So when you're ready, just come on down and just kind of, shake yourself out, rearrange, see what's there today. Kind of roll wrists and ankles. You might roll the feet in and out. Oh, we can stretch. Take those feet wider than the hips. Wiggle those shoulder blades underneath until you feel that you're ready to kind of give yourself to the mat, to gravity, to this moment. This is, in fact, the only moment that exists in you and your experience. And yet, often our attention is so much on things before and things that might be to come and all of that. And so, one of our most powerful tools is becoming present moment and particularly using our breath attention for that. So, in this moment, draw all of your attention from wherever it's been landing and dispersed. And if you can, see it coming in as this like a concentrated lens or focus. Turn your gaze up and in. Lightly connect the tongue behind the front teeth. The rest of the tongue and jaw soft. If you ever notice a lot of tension in the jaw, uh, consider doing a little lion stretch where you actively open the mouth as wide as you can. And then close, and again, find as much softness as you can. Just that softness of the cheeks, tongue, and jaw says, I am well, I am whole, I am safe. In this moment, everything is perfect, nothing needs changing. This is my yoga for the day. And you might add your ujjayi, that slight throat contraction, great sounding breath, wind in the trees breath. Is it difficult to continue attention on breath? Is it already wandering, jumping around? Again, don't get frustrated with that. If anything, you might be amused. We think it's really cute when puppies are zipping around. So if you can kind of just think of it that way, and then call your attention to breath again. Get curious. Curious always creates more space, more possibility. So where are you feeling the breath in the body? What is the texture of the breath? Can you find the moment of pause that exists between the inhale and the exhale, between the exhale and the inhale? And as you begin centering more on the breath and your body, let your curiosity wander into the body more deeply to just kind of take an inventory. How is your body? And are there any particular parts of your body that need some special care today and attention? Perhaps some adapting or just leaving certain postures out that could aggravate? Have you been noticing any disharmonies or kind of things that are achy and keep you from sleeping? As we get into our physical practice, again, taking care of those parts, but also noticing, please, if there are particular stretches or postures that feel really, really delicious, and making sure that you repeat those in the coming days. Even if you're not getting out your yoga mat per se, you can do one or two stretches very easily that your body's asking for. For now, we're going to come into compression and expansion. So really connecting into our core and expanded breath. The next time you're exhaling, powerful core drawing down towards the floor, anchoring the back into the floor, feeling the pelvis tilt up, emptying, emptying, until there's nothing left. Softening and allowing the body to return to its normal spinal curve, sipping in a little extra at the very end. Exhaling compression and inhaling expansion to your timing. And if it feels appropriate on your compression breath, you might also start squeezing the body into rock pose. So belly draws down first. I'm going to bring my legs together so that I can squeeze the thighs, the glutes, shoulder heads, arms in by the sides. Emptying, emptying. Is there more? And then practice getting really soft and heavy during the inhale. Become a receptive container. And again, exhaling compression, rock pose. You could also add a sit-up. And if you're doing this, you're kind of drawing your chin down so that you're looking at your feet. You don't want the chin up because it's going to tighten that front of the neck. And we'll do just a couple more. Soft tongue, soft gaze, maybe a soft smile. Creating a face that is flexible and free and ready to be happy and bemused. Next time you're in rock pose with sit-up, if you're doing that, feel free to add a little flapping arms here, and you can even add bellows breath. And inhaling, release, and stretch the arms overhead, and again, just get really loose and organic. And oh, we definitely want to love up wrists and ankles. We ask so much of them. Marvelous. And now we're going to bring knees into belly and just give it a nice tight hug. And as you roll a little side to side, consider kind of letting the knees come a little away from the belly and then close again. So you're really kind of massaging different parts of the back here along the yoga mat. Nice. And we're going to come from here into robot. And I'm going to be showing the full robot with the arms. However, if this is new to you or you don't do it very often, I would recommend you for sure start with legs only so that you can really begin to coordinate and also make sure you're using all the right stuff. All right, so I'm going to flex my feet. I'm going to power my back down just like I was during compression. Check that my neck is easy. And then I'm going to slowly start taking the knees away from me until I believe that they're right over the hips. And one way I know that is that it is hard, it's difficult for me to keep the core anchored, but I'm not like so far out here that I'm like, can't really do it. So I want to find that place of good work, 90-degree angle, legs parallel but not touching. Arms are straight up, shoulder heads anchored. Big inhale here. Exhale, power down, and begin by taking one foot and one hand opposite directions. Maybe the heels touching down, maybe not. Big inhale in flight. Exhaling, come on back. And we want to try and notice if the limb that's supposed to be staying stable is moving. Big inhale. Exhale, other heel and opposite hand. And check your stable leg and arm. Inhaling. Still rooting, expanding the belly. And come on back. Good. Let's do one more. Big inhale in neutral. Exhale, anchor, extend. Soft tongue. Maybe a soft smile inside this good work. Big inhale. Exhale, return. Inhale, neutral, exhaling, extending. Remember that arm is not trying to reach the floor. It's trying to reach the wall behind you. Big inhale, exhale, power on back and relax. So if you find that you're really quite weak in the core and you just feel like, you're not, it's hurting your back, you're not getting good work, remember you can do just teeny movements with the legs like so. And you'll find that you can do really focused work. Let's plant the feet in bridge pose and come on up. So I'm going to anchor my upper arms, get those shoulder blades kind of together. And I'm just going to do some nice pulsing up and down, really getting some good stretching through the hip flexors, quads. Imagining that we have a block or something between the thighs that's helping us keep a nice inner thigh engagement. This changes everything in our core strength and stability. Good, and then let's pause at the upper end and add leg extensions. Remember, you can also just do a foot hover where you're just lifting one foot at a time. I sometimes will start there and then extend. Pausing, try not to use the neck. This should really be coming from the power of the standing leg. And of course, that powerful reach through the heel of the extending leg. No floppy limbs here. See if you can go back and forth. I like to hold a little bit on each side so I can notice, did my hip drop? What does it take to restabilize? And release. Nice. I'm going to have you bring just the right knee in and grab your right foot if you can. If you can't, just crossing it onto that left thigh would actually be a great alternate. And otherwise, I'm just going to have you hug that right leg and release and hug. This is a little bit like a reclined pigeon, a kind of more active version of it. You can also extend that left leg, and that gives a nice, again, additional stretch through the front of the hip flexor and so on. And then I'm going to take that leg, the right leg, and kind of push it side to side. I'm just giving it some nice range of movement. All right, and I'm going to switch, bringing that left knee in. Again, you might start with the right leg planted just to see how you feel first, or if you need that thigh. Otherwise, extending that right leg, pulsing. Yeah, loving up those hips. You could also just do our basic reclined pigeon if you're familiar and prefer that. All right. So if you would now bring both knees into the belly. And we're going to do some of the prep for eagle pose right here because I want you to be able to do it without the balance aspect of it. It's a fun pose, but it can also be intense on knees and stuff. So I'm going to be offering you ways to dial it back, and I ask that you honor your joints. So for right now, I'm going to try and I'm using my hands to, by the way, anchor core, to draw my right thigh across my left, ideally up above the knee. And I'm kind of helping it here. And then I'm going to see if I can hook my right foot in behind the left calf. I want to keep that left foot stable and upright so it's not all cranked off to the side. Now, if I can't hook that foot, then I'm just going to flex it and anchor it right against the outside of the calf. And when I'm ready, I'm going to switch. I'm going to take the left leg right up above the right knee. And I'm going to see if I can hook that left foot in. Check that my right foot is stable and cranked back. The right foot's the one you can see, by the way. And then if that doesn't work, you're kind of pressing, flexing your blade of your left foot up against the outside of the right calf. All right. So let those legs go a moment. We'll give them a break. Sometimes going into bridge afterwards is a really nice, again, counter stretch for those hip flexors. And then we're going to do the arms a moment. So if you do a similar crossing, it's the right arm up over the left above the elbow, and you're going to just keep kind of circling until you see if you can bring your palms so they're facing each other. They won't be the same height, so I'm kind of just hooking my left fingers in around the pad kind of that right thumb pad. Yeah. And then I'm going to unwind and crossing left over right and seeing if I can hook my fingers in around that left thumb pad. And when we're in eagle arms, we can do a little pulsing where we're bringing the elbows kind of more in front of the face, and you'll see we'll do that standing. Again, you want to be really careful and make sure your shoulders appreciate that. It can be a wonderful stretch, but not everyone's body is going to love that. All right. So for fun, right here, bring yourself into eagle legs, whatever version you can get to. And again, maybe it's just right ankle crossed onto left thigh or down here, right? But otherwise, go ahead and bring that right leg across, hook however you're gonna. Bring the left arm over the right. Good. Take a nice breath in. And if you want a little extra fun here, bring it into a sit-up, bringing those elbows and knees towards each other. I've got my left thumb right on my center of my forehead as kind of an anchoring point. I'm going to crunch it right here, eagle crunch. Breathing, as you can see or hear, I hope. And when you're ready, uncross, left over right with the legs, right over left with the arms. Plant that right thumb if you want in the forehead. Big inhale, Exhale, anchor and crunch. And you can just come in and out or do little crunches right there, little pulses. It's like you're doing a fast little compression breath. One more. And unwind. Lovely. One last counter pose, bridge pose. Intertwine yoga mudra. Ah, good. Take it as far up as you can. Again, engaging inner thighs, inner foot to the floor, heart up and back. Pressing the fists towards the heels if you're in yoga mudra. One more deep breath. And slowly on down. Nice. Go ahead and join me. Come on up onto hands and knees. So later when we do it standing, if that's not working for you, you can just come on down like we were. All right, table pose. Let's wake up that spine a little more in our classic cow cat. Inhaling and exhaling. When you're in cow pose, do try to hang out there a moment and really feel breath into your chest. Last time. Good. And then please hold in stable table. Inhaling, extend right arm, left leg, and hold. Check that you haven't collapsed. Take it out to the side. Hold. Big inhale. Exhale, cross. Get that core contracted. Good. And extend out again. And come on back. Good. Left arm, right leg. Take it out to the side. Big inhale. Exhale, cross. Inhaling, extend. And return. Nice. Inhaling, cow. Draw the heart forward. Go into downward dog. Intelligent hands. Exhaling, up and back. So this is our first dog. Take a moment in downward facing dog to really explore intelligent hands, pressing heels towards the floor. Notice what's in your shoulders, make adjustments, and then please find for a moment your holding in downward dog. Just getting that core nicely supported, shoulder heads rotating out. Good. And we're going to slowly take that right leg flying. As you do so, notice if you changed anything, collapsed anywhere. If you want to take a hip opener, go for it. Rotating open through the right hip. Exhaling, you're going to come forward like you're coming into plank and cross that right knee over to your left tricep. All right. Inhaling up. Vision between the feet or where they would have been. And then exhaling, plank and cross. Good. One more. Again, the more you can think about really trying to bring that knee to the tricep, squeeze, 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 the more you'll feel it tomorrow. And downward facing dog. Good. I'm going to do a little pulsing upward dog, downward dog. You could also be taking a rest or a little up dog, down dog with me. You don't have to do 3 of them. You might do 1. Heart moving forward, heels moving back. Last one. Always take a break for your wrists when you need to. We will in a moment. We are going to send left leg flying. Big inhale. So notice, by the way, if the sensation in that standing leg is different. Like I can feel my right hamstring thoroughly here, more than I could with the other side. Exhale, plank and cross. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Inhaling, is there more? Exhaling, crossing, is there more? Last one. And return, downward facing dog. Marvelous. Coming all the way to the floor. Inhaling, plank. Exhaling, chaturanga. You might go knees down for that first one in particular. Roll out their wrists. They'll really appreciate it. And preparing for jet airplane. So tented fingertips, anchored pelvis. Inhaling, extend. And exhaling, return. Always letting breath inspire motion. So if you have to take a break completely, go for it. One more. Maybe you're adding legs if you haven't already. And release. Plant the hands, press back either to child's pose, or you can go all the way to downward dog and walk the hands back to ragdoll. So either one, we're getting a nice release through that low back. Good. Drop the butt, inhale, root and rise, big glute squeeze. Exhaling, prayer hands. Soft smile, hello breath. And as you're ready, moving out to your 5-pointed star. So it's basically straddle with those arms extended. And I want to have you hold and just feel that combination of power and soft breath. Slow that breath down. Marvelous. So we're going to do a little bit of movement here in and out of eagle pose. And so as we come out of eagle pose, we'll go into straddle, and then we'll come back again for the next round. So it's just a kind of fun way to keep moving. We're kind of winding in and then spreading out. All right. So find your bent knees. Good. Go ahead and help that right leg over the left. Help that left arm over the right. Find a steady gaze. We're going to hold for about 3 breaths. Remember, you could be doing a different leg version like I offered earlier. And on your next inhale, spread out into your 5-pointed star. Good. Feel that deep squeeze of the glutes. Awesome. And we'll bring the leg in and left over right, right over left. And again, find your vision. You could still even have the thumb on the forehead if you find that helpful. But this is, again, a nice place you can play with those arms, a little pulsing, the elbows up and down. Breathing, even if you're wobbling. Smiling softly. Combat your perfectionism with amusement. And on your next inhale, step to the left into your 5-pointed star. Marvelous. We're going to step to the front of the mat, coming into a warrior flow. And if you prefer to go to dog and leg flying, then you'll come from there into your crescent lunge. Otherwise, right here, coming into that nice athletic stance where you're pushing the earth away. Inhaling, lift that left knee. Good. Pause. Again, nice yoga toes. Maybe you'd like to briefly extend it out in front and slowly on back. Nice. And where do your arms want to be today? You know, if you're hungering for a nice counter shape to eagle, it might be yoga mudra. I'm always a fan of jet airplane. Feel those triceps squeezing in. Maybe you're craving that back bend, sending the ribs forward and up. One more long breath in. Exhaling, Virabhadrasana 2. That back foot turning out 90 degrees. Adjust your stance. Remember, we want that front knee arriving over the heel. And a few deep, steady breaths there. Rising up and down. I think of it almost like a well filling and emptying. Inhaling up with that front arm. You can keep the front leg straight or bent. Totally up to you. Notice where the breath is in the body in this shape. Breath attention. Can you get a little longer through that middle finger? Find that space all the way down your waistline. And lateral stretch, right elbow to right thigh. Or like last week, we played a lot with bringing the hand down to the floor or to a block. And if you enjoyed that, repeat that. Stacking that left shoulder and reaching that left arm out over the head. This is one of my favorite stretches of all time. Or again, you can always work with partial bind if your body preferred that. Good. Enjoy one more long inhale. Exhaling, release, and step back downward dog. Reduce the swoosh. Inhale, exhale, sigh. Opportunity for dog series. You could also hold steady or rest. Inhaling plank, knees or feet. As you exhale, remember, raise the hips a little and let your chest and nose precede the hips. All the way to the floor, either for cobra or scooping then to upward dog. Exhaling, downward facing dog. Inhale, exhale, sigh. And you might be returning to the front of mat with a simple lunge or a hop, ragdoll. Inhaling, root and rise. Is there more? Root and reach. Exhaling, resolve, prayer hands. Pause, tune in. What is the texture of the breath? Standing crane, right knee lifts, yoga toes. Exhaling, you might straighten that leg. It's a lot of root and reach, takes a lot of power there. And then step back, crescent lunge. Again, where do your arms want to be today? You can be anywhere. It doesn't have to be what you did on the other side either. Notice if this side feels different in your hips, your back. What is it like to breathe here? Do you want to go a little deeper? Would you like to add a back bend? Make sure you've got power in that back thigh, pressing back and exhaling, Virabhadrasana 2. Again, pulsing, deepening, stabilizing, and letting breath rise and settle in this shape. So one of the things we have in yoga as a tool is our drishti gaze, that kind of soft but steady focus. So I might have it out beyond my middle finger here or off the palm. And that can be one of my points of attention that brings me into this pose instead of mentally wandering. On a long inhale, watch that point reach up. And then, of course, adjust your head anytime to take care of the neck. The more you give the body the inhale, almost always you gain space on the exhale. And lateral stretch, elbow to thigh, shoulder head stack. And again, reaching out beyond the head. Remember, we can pulse it here. So this is not static. We can move that right shoulder kind of a little back behind the ear, or the arm a little behind the ear, and then forward again. And that just gives a lovely massage to those shoulders. One more long inhale. And exhaling, downward facing dog. Reduce the swoosh. Inhale, exhale, sigh. Marvelous. Now walk your hands back to your feet if you would. Nice and slow, pushing, pushing, pushing into your ragdoll. Nice deep breath there a moment. And then inhaling, root and rise. All right, preparing for eagle pose. So again, whatever version, and the very simple version might be right here. Okay, just crossing that right ankle onto left knee. Your hips, knees, and ankles might prefer it or find it more doable, and that's all good. Otherwise, I'm going to sink down deep, like into chair pose. That's necessary to be able to then cross that right knee and hook in if you're going to. Left arm over right. And then here's a little add-on. You're only going to do this once you feel pretty steady. Option to kind of do a little eagle crunch here standing. So I'm just slowly trying to bring my elbows towards my knee. I've got my drishti gaze now on the floor, kind of just under my hands, and I'm breathing. Inhaling, rise up. Other side, we'll bend into chair. Crossing left over right. Again, I have to use my hands to help get it all the way around. Right arm over left. Drishti gaze. Remember, you can just be in prayer hands here as an option. And if you're ready, slowly little eagle crunch, elbows to thigh. Steady gaze, steady breath, even inside wobbling. Soft smile. One more if you got it. Inhaling, open up. Ah, lovely. And step sideways into your straddle, 5-pointed star. This time we're going to go just side to side. Get that nice hip opening. I like going all the way to the floor with my hands, but if that doesn't work for you, you might just keep them on your thighs. And this should feel really, really good, I hope, after that deep crossing, that deep internal rotating. So enjoy it, and at some point, hold to one side. Hold to the other. Good, and next time, move to the other side again and plant so I'm going to move to my right and plant my left hand, and then rotate open through my right arm. I want you to do that a few times, sort of inhaling and exhaling, rotating. Give yourself breath. Exhale, rotate. Where I'm really feeling that is in my left thigh. And then I'm going to walk over to the left, plant my right hand. It's really important that this leg is fully rooted as I'm inhaling and then deep exhaling through the torso. And release. Walk those hands all the way to the front of the mat and step back to your downward facing dog. Opportunity for dog series here. And again, you can do parts of it, remember? So if chaturanga doesn't work for you, you can just kind of skip that part, do a little up dog, down dog. Otherwise, inhaling plank. And you might just do a nice small controlled chaturanga. Bend those elbows just an inch. Otherwise, hold with the elbows and then upward dog or cobra. All right, I'm going to send that right leg flying, and you could do this in table instead. Pause, bend the knee, open up that hip. Nice big opening. Good. Exhaling, we're going to bring that right foot forward into our lunge and hold, right? We're going to make a journey back and forth until we're ready to launch onto this right leg. Some of you will remember this from standing moon prep. And we're just going to do the first part, which is launch onto that right leg, left leg flying behind. I'm going to ask you to do some deep core work here. So I'm really working my abdomen towards the spine to fold. And once I feel steady here, and you might need a block, I'm going to open up that left hip. Oh, reach, reach, reach. Maybe you feel up to bending the leg there. Marvelous. And then I'm going to return that foot down into a lunge and come on up right into our crescent lunge. Woo, arms reaching. Nice deep breath here. Exhaling, downward facing dog. Reduce the swoosh. Try to lift that right foot. Marvelous. And we're going to take that left leg flying. Maybe opening up that hip. And when we're doing this, it's just a wonderful opportunity for the whole upper body to check in, that you're not collapsing through those arms or through your chest. And a slow journey. Foot lands, pause, begin our pulsing. So we want to know when we're launching onto this foot. We want to feel we're ready to go. Big breath and launch. Exhaling, fold. So you can see I'm giving myself room on the inhale to then exhale, deepen. Maybe you want to bend that top knee and open like we do in dog. And slowly neutral hip. Land that back foot. Steer those hip bones. That's key to our stability here. And up you come. Steady breath inside of the effort. Lovely. And Release out, downward facing dog. We're going to come onto our belly for pre-bow bow. However, if you'd prefer standing quad stretch, go for it. We are going to be doing dancer pose today, so standing quad stretch is a nice lead up to that. Here is also great, getting the quads and the hips to stretch out. So you always want your pelvis anchored, and then you reach back for those ankles, nice yoga toes. And first, I'm just going to rest here in what I call pre-bow, because it's actually a really great stretch for the legs and hips. Doesn't get the shoulders involved yet, and it's also easier to breathe here. So just let yourself kind of enjoy this stretch. You can kind of uncontract the butt cheeks and recontract. Also imagine you're kind of squeezing a block between the thighs. If appropriate in your body, inhale, bow. Press those ankles back into the hands. Keep those inner thighs or knees anchoring towards each other. I don't mean that they need to be touching, but that we have an engagement that allows them not to wing out. Soft breath, soft smile, best you can. And release. I often sigh when coming out of that pose. It's a lot of muscular work, except for people who don't have any tension. So if you ever think, gosh, I'm really weak because things feel hard, it's actually in the pose like this, it's how much of your own tension you're having to work against. And I get that. All right, my friends. Steady that breath, and only when you're ready, please, only when you're ready, join me in preparation for forearm plank. So I've got one hand in a fist, the other hand around, shoulder heads anchoring. Going to take a deep, deep breath. And on the exhale, you might just stay on the knees and tuck that tailbone into forearm plank. You might curl the feet under and engage the thigh bones to the sky first, then tuck that tailbone. And breathe. Now, if you're not getting a quiver, try walking your elbows forward just a little bit. That's usually enough. Make sure your thigh heads are powering towards the sky, your thigh bones. One more long breath and release. And turn your head to the side. Letting ourselves really soften and just be in the present moment with the body is so, so powerful. I'm going to offer a little add-on in our second round here of forearm plank. And, if you're really working hard to just be in integrity in it and breath, then please don't add on, okay? But if you're feeling like, yeah, I kind of got this, feeling kind of easy, then come on into forearm plank. And I'm going to invite you to add our kind of frog pose, I consider it. So you're inhaling neutral. Exhaling, you're bringing one knee towards the tricep, and you're holding and squeezing till there's no more exhale. Then inhale, return. Exhale, other knee, squeezing towards the tricep and making sure your other leg isn't collapsing. That's key. And if you're game, you do one more each side. Otherwise, when you're ready, release out, and we're going to press back child's pose. No wings, no shrugs. If you have your hands just kind of relaxed by your head, it can be nice to kind of bring the index fingers together and the thumbs together. It creates a kind of an intentional hand position or mudra. Just feels very peaceful, very connected. All right, we're going to do a seated posture, well, sort of on hands and feet, but down here, before we come into our standing dancer. So this is a stretch that I've offered a couple times, and I really recommend you notice if it's good for your body, because this is a really effective one to just like toss in, each morning if you're trying to create some more fluidity in shoulders. So we basically have our hands and feet on the floor, fingers pointing towards the heels, shoulder heads anchor down before you send those hips up. And then once there, Imagine you're trying to rotate your hands outward. Don't move them, just engage as if you were. And relax. Rise up. Imagine rotating out. Raise your chest a little higher. And release. And let's relax and love up those wrists. So what I end up feeling often is a really good stretch through bicep tendon into the shoulder here. And that's an area where a lot of us just get way too kind of internally rotated through the shoulder heads. And it can provide a really nice stretch, again, especially if you're doing a lot of gardening and physical stuff like that. All right. Come on up to standing, however you'd like to get there. So standing dancer is a balancing pose, and you might want, to take a hold of a wall or a kitchen counter or something like that so that you can really enjoy the pose. And we haven't done this one as a group for a little while, so I'm just going to remind you that when we're doing this pose, that the hip bones need to stay straight forward or down, but they're not opening up. Okay, so it's the same alignment as crescent lunge, warrior one. And the same thing, I don't want my knee winging out. So I might have to initially to grab it, but then she'll grab my ankle, but then I need to bring it back in, okay? So standing dancer, I want to first find this upright. I've got a hold of my left ankle at this point and extend my right arm forward. And I'm just noticing a nice stretch here, quad stretch, as some of you might have done instead of pre-bow. So now I'm going to hinge at my hip like I'm trying to reach something off of a countertop or something, or a shelf in front of me. I'm going to check my back knee and my hips, make sure that left hasn't rotated open. And then if I feel ready, I'm going to engage that ankle into the hand and try not to tip over and try to breathe. And to let the pose blossom. There's often some kind of movement or shift that's really, really fun if you're not trying to go too far and if you are breathing. And of course, if your balance is struggling, there's never that kind of letting go into the pose part, which is why I think this is a fun one to practice initially, especially with your hand on a countertop or something, because then you can feel the kind of opening that happens. We're trying to be like in bow pose, or if you think of stringing an archery bow, right, how things kind of finally open, and that's how we'd love dancer to be. You can also put a strap on, in this case the right ankle, to get more of that opening feeling if you're kind of like, I'm not getting much. So when you're ready, find your standing quad stretch. Glutes are engaged, hip bones neutral, and slowly start reaching forward with the hand, hinging at the hip, and then when you're ready, engaging with that right ankle into the right hand. And again, you breathe, you stay. Usually I'm only in each side for maybe 3 breaths or 4 breaths. One little add-on that I'll offer, and I'll just display it here so that anyone wants to, if you want to run through it again quick. And this is only if it feels great to your shoulder, but it can be a wonderful shoulder stretch, which is instead of clasping the outside of the ankle, I'm going to take the hand along the inside of the ankle. And you can have your thumb on your arch or just the whole hand hooked. And again, you have to make sure you're not compensating now by winging the leg out. But now when I send my ankle into that left hand, I get a different stretch into that left shoulder and chest. It's kind of like when we do yoga mudra, how it rotates that shoulder blade along the spine. It can feel really, really good. So I hope we've gotten you a little hot. I hope we have challenged you to have your attention in your body. That's one of the great gifts of balancing poses and weird postures. And I hope now that you'll spend a few minutes just really letting it integrate and soften with me. So up to you if you would like to be in corpse pose, if you'd like to be seated in a seated meditation. And of course, even when I close our practice with the singing bowl, you are welcome to just continue letting the practice settle in and resonate. We know that we do a lot during yoga that we aren't necessarily aware of in the moment. We know that we massage our organs and glands, that it's a shift for our nervous system, that we can really heal imbalances. And so the more you can let that kind of resting time be, the more of that you get to draw out of the practice. When you are ready, please settle in, reattune to breath. And this time it's breath that's just slow and passive, like a baby sleeping. No ujjayi, no effort of any kind. Invite a softness in your eyes, in your mouth. Inviting the body to rest deeply, circulating healing prana and life force. With each exhale, settling more deeply with gravity, down and down and down. Begin to notice the presence of breath. And before you decide to make your way back into the river of life, whatever's waiting for you in this moment, Please take this moment to affirm wholeness, goodness, peace in your own systems, and to also notice if there's any particular instinct from the body about what is needed. How much activity, how much food, how much rest, how much being present with beauty, how much wrestling with things that are hard. Because, of course, our body processes all that. If we're crying, if we're scared, if we're angry, our body is the sort of conduit that holds and moves all that energy. So just try and scan the body for clues about what is appropriate, what's needed, and what will create the best well-being. I hope this practice encourages all kinds of well-being in your systems. It's been good for me to be with you, and I'm grateful. If you'd care to join me in Ohms, please do. Gather that first long inhale. Om Shanti Shanti. Om peace peace. Namaste.